All right, this is it. Massive night incoming. Arsenal versus Sporting, the second leg of the Champions League. And honestly, this game feels way less comfortable than it should. Welcome back to Forward on Football, guys. On paper, Arsenal are in control. 1-0 up from the first leg, courtesy of a Kai Havertz last-minute winner. And it's been an unbelievable campaign in Europe so far. But the feeling around this team right now, completely different. Because the reality is, Arsenal are limping into this game, metaphorically and literally. Only Mikel Merino is officially ruled out, but then we look at the list. Martin Ødegaard, doubt. Bukayo Saka, doubt. Ricardo Calafiori, doubt. Jurrien Timber, doubt. And then there's Declan Rice. Now, he did finish the Bournemouth game, but he was limping. And then he misses the open training today. Yeah, that's not a good sign. And during that horrendous match against Bournemouth, Rice pulled up after jumping for the ball at about the 65th minute, and he could be seen heavily limping. Now, of course, in classic Declan Rice fashion, he went on a big run up the pitch and then forced a save from Petrovic via long-range effort about 2 minutes later. Now, will he miss this game? We'll have to wait and see. What we do know is the timing couldn't be worse. You've got this game, and then you've got Manchester City on the weekend. And right now, Arteta's basically spinning plates. And let's not ignore the form, because it is rough. That 2-1 loss against Bournemouth is a third defeat in 4. And the most worrying part is that Arsenal created absolutely nothing. 0.19 XG from open play. And it's not just bad. That has to be sending alarm bells around the fan base, around the training ground, quite frankly. But the tactics just don't seem to be working. I mean, I feel that everyone online is frustrated. Everyone at home is frustrated. Surely the players are frustrated too. But where it is deeper is because it's not just the injuries. There are real tactical problems in this team right now. And if we start with a build-up, that double pivot that looked so good earlier on in the season with Declan Rice and Martin Zubimendi, it's just not working. Zubimendi especially looks shattered. Not just physically, he looks mentally broken. Now, we must keep in mind the context of this. This is the first season he's really had to play at this level and this amount of minutes. He's not turning under pressure. He's not carrying the ball. He's not progressing the play quickly enough. And we saw it earlier on the season. You know, he was breaking lines. He was making really interesting passes and at times risky passes. But everything feels a step slow right now. Then we know our system relies heavily on the fullbacks. But with Ricardo Calafiori out and also Jurrien Timber, Ben White seems out of form. So the whole structure just falls apart. There's no overlaps. There's no unpredictability. It's so easy to defend. It's so easy to read. And we've then got the problem that teams are now working us out and starting to press us because they are, quite frankly, pressing us quite aggressively. Arsenal lose control and they can't handle the chaos right now. Now, I know I have talked about this on the podcast, especially on the Fockles podcast with Wockles, and the biggest issue for me is the attack. It's not even that midfield and our ability to bait the press and beat the press. Like, Martin Ødegaard, at the moment, it looks like he might not play this game, but since his return, he is not convinced. He's not creating space. He's not making the right decisions. And then no one is attacking. No one is actually trying to break lines. It's safe passwords. It's backward options. There is no risk, and therefore, there's no reward. It's so difficult. I want to be positive about this game, but just look at our wingers right now. They're completely isolated. And although Martinelli has been fantastic in the Champions League, and I think Madueke had a relatively good showing in the last sporting game, I think Gyökeres suits European fixtures a little bit more. But right now, there's nothing there. We're expecting these players to kind of just do it on their own. Here's the ball, beat a man, what can you do for us? There's no real attacking system right now. Again, no overlaps, no support. Just quite frankly, as Wackles rightly says, just vibes. And I mean, I remember James B, big up James, he actually had the opportunity to ask Arteta in a pre-season, not this pre-season, but previously, about, playing Jurrien Timber at centre-back, letting Ben White play at right-back, etc. And he talked about those combinations and chemistry and players' understanding. And we used to have that kind of triangle with Bukayo Saka, Martin Ødegaard, and Ben White. Fast forward now, and there's no real chemistry in key areas. Ødegaard wants quick combinations. Victor Gyökeres plays at a completely different tempo. No one is synced. You look at the balance when we've got Martin, Ødegaard, and Gyökeres, or if you want to go across the front three, if you look at Madueke, Gyökeres, and Martinelli, and the balance we have there, we look at Bukayo Saka's out and Ben White seems to play better with him. And then Jurrien Timber comes back in and then that seems to break down. We had originally quite a nice little combination between Ricardo Calafiori and Leandro Trossard. Leandro Trossard's form has dropped off a cliff. They're just not synced. And it feels like the squad has gone too far towards physicality. We just don't have the technical security that we need to get us over the line currently. It's less about control and more about turnovers. And when you've got players like Kai Havertz and Martin Ødegaard giving the ball away in key moments, I just think it just spells disaster for us right now. And the worst thing is that even if you want to build a squad in this manner, you want to go for a high press. You want to be aggressive and be one of the best out of possession teams in world football, which we have been for a number of years. Against Bournemouth, when we were playing over the press and we were playing these long balls, there was no one winning second balls. We're not committing bodies forward. We're not playing with freedom. And it shows. Add fatigue into the mix. And yes, teams are going to be running through us, and we are going to be running on fumes right now. Now, compare that to Sporting. They're confident. They're in rhythm. 3 wins in a row. Yes, they're missing Nuno Santos and a couple of squad players, but they have got Morton back, and Luis Suarez is available after a mix-up in the yellow cards. History says Arsenal should be fine, unbeaten at home versus Portuguese sides, but Sporting have already come here and knocked us out before. So they will believe they have got a chance. We have got to make sure that Victor Gyökeres gets to the ball. We've got to make sure that we are playing a little bit more vertically. We're playing with a little bit more risk. We've got to make use of that 1-0 in the first leg, because it is our ground and we need to actually send a statement to the fans and to the other teams right now. Let's go to the predicted 11s. I think probably Arsenal will play with David Raya. I think Ben White will be at right back. He'll be lucky to do so after his last few performances. Saliba and Gabriel obviously at centre-back. And I think Piero Hincapié will come back into the team at left back. It does look like he is fit. Miles hasn't really kind of stamped authority on that position right now. The midfield is where it could be interesting. Eze looks like he's coming back, and I think we need him in form, and I think he needs the minutes before the City game. So I think Emirates Eze will come in. Declan Rice, I am hoping, will be back. If he is fit, he will play. And then there's the dilemma of Martin Zubimendi. Now, for me, I think you take him out of this. I think either Norgard or Miles needs to come in. simply taking Martin Zubimendi out of the firing line because he has looked a shadow of himself as of late. Finally, the front three. For me, it will be Gyökeres up top, Madueke out on the right, and then being Europe, I think it will be Martinelli, but for balance, maybe it should be Trossard, and then you bring Martinelli on later when the game's a little bit more stretched. Hopefully we can get a goal, and then the game opens up more with Sporting needing a win, and then we can kind of break lines and we can get Martinelli on the end of it. Now, Opta still backs Arsenal with about a 62% chance. Maybe that feels a bit generous right now, but here's where I'm at. Arsenal should go through. And with the injuries, the form, and the tactical issues, this is way more dangerous than it looks. If Sporting score first, this could get very uncomfortable. And we know they came flying out of the traps in the last game. They had that direct ball from Diomande down between Saliba and Ben White, and they almost got a goal. Fantastic save from David Raya in that beginning. We cannot allow that to happen. So let me know your predictions, guys. And be honest with this. Are you confident or are you nervous? Does it make a difference that this is in Europe rather than the Premier League? Like, subscribe, and I'll see you all after the game. It's a big night. Let's see what happens. You guys know football. I just talk it. Forward out.